everyone, and welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Sol, and I'm here with Jason. Jason, how you doing?
I- I'm doing good. I am glad to be here. So glad to be here. I'm having a mixed emotional day because of
Mm.
I don't know if anyone heard the about Bobby Knight, but it kind of like hurts me a little bit as a sports fan. But we're not here to talk about sports. We're here to talk about you know
Yeah, we're here to talk about the Variety article "Crisis at Marvel," written by Tatiana Siegel. Um, this is an article that has now been going across the nerd verse, all over YouTube, Discord, Twitter, everywhere. And we're like, why don't we join ourselves into this conversation? So I'm gonna throw to you first. Your overall thoughts of the article, like not getting too much into the nitty gritty, but just like overall thoughts.
there are parts of this article that I find very fascinating. There are parts of this article that made me want to pull a mic and y'all's Hassan Minaj video and throw my fucking headphones. Like I'm glad this is one of those things that I'm glad I have insurance on my phone because it's one of those things I almost threw my phone because I was mad because I feel like there are parts of this where they're it's almost like a hit piece, but it's like what was made the joke that was made after the Barbie movie and Oppenheimer came out. They're focusing on the wrong things, and it's just one of those things that just like I and this article just is basically pops it for a second and then jumps off of it, but then goes into something else, and it's just like honestly there are parts that are just like, hey, let's clickbait some stuff so we can get some views. Well, guess what? It's
Yeah,
working, but
right. I mean, we're talking about it here.
truth.
Um, my overall thoughts of the article was, yeah, we knew that. Like on a lot of what we were reading, it was already been covered before, but it was nice to have it all succinct in like one space. So instead of like, oh, let me go get this article and this article and this article and this article about each individual thing, it was like, oh, it's nice to have it all in one place.
Yep.
But a lot of what we were reading, we kind of already knew. It goes a little bit deeper in some stuff, but a lot of it is quotes by people that are unnamed. So it's just like, okay, how verified is this? And a lot with what's going on globally in the world right now, and then also the Hassan Minhaj thing. I'm like, how much do I trust the media? Which I was just like, I never has been one of these people that is like fake news, but it's kind of like it's happening, guys. It's happening. So let's just get into this. Are you ready to get into it?
Let's do. Let's hold our noses and jump off the diving board.
Let's do this thing. So first, it does touch on Jonathon Majors and his legal battles with the alleged domestic violence case. Which, if you are having problems with the domestic violence, we're going to leave links down below on places that you can either call, text, email, whatever. So please seek help if that is happening to you. But these domestic violence stuff is all alleged at the moment. Um, and there's stuff by his party and his lawyers that have come out about it possibly being a false allegation. They didn't really go too much about that in the article, so we're not going to go into that here. But it will be interesting to see what the results of this case will be, not just for the MCU sake, but also for the sake of, is this man an asshole? Or is this another case of a false allegation? And then it makes it harder for women who actually go through this to be believed. Um, but they did talk about possible solutions on if he loses the case, which pivoting to Doctor Doom or recasting. What do you think they should do with this whole thing? Because he really is the big plan for the MCU right now.
So I think you can. I'm gonna go comic book because I was talking to my friend Brian about this just the other night.
Mm.
Um, because as anyone who has been watching our live reviews of Loki knows, Soul and I are gigantic fans of Ke Kwang.
Mhm.
And my friend Brian and I had this really now we have not seen the finale. I cannot wait. I want to see it on the, going up to so we're gonna, all this sort of stuff. So spoiler alert, comic wise. But in the comics, Ke Kwan's character is a Kang variant. So is it possible that if Jonathan Majors' case goes sideways, they do Kang, but as Ke Kwang? Now, me personally, yay, money. I want that because the other thing that's mentioned in this article is Doctor Doom. I don't want that. Doctor
Neither do I.
way, 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 way too many times. The entire freaking Fox run of the Fantastic Four was completely about Doctor Doom. The really horrible we will not talk about that damn Josh Trank movie had Doctor Doom as the villain. I don't want Doctor Doom. Like I need him like to be a character or something. I would have loved him to show up in Black Panther, but I don't need him as a big bad. It's just no, 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 no. Like
Also, with Doctor Doom, I don't think with because we're already in phase 5 now, so we've had an entire phase 4 where we've already established Kang in phase 4 and then a little bit more in phase 5. If it was to be Doctor Doom, then like the one thing that worked with Thanos in the original phase 1 through 3 is he was introduced in spurts of phase 1, then phase 2, then phase 3. So I feel like if you're going to do Doctor Doom, it's already too late to introduce him. That could be like the next big bad in the next saga.
right. Right. Or like you have him like but because the thing is like this is the part where this article just kind of irritates me is it's almost like and we'll get more into it later, but like I think they're not talking about like it's almost like they're looking at certain parts and like not looking at others. And I'm just like you need to focus on like the whole entire Marvel thing as a whole. One, we're right in the middle of this. Like we are talking about like Endgame worked. Did it? I didn't for me, but like I
Did
understand
for
why
me.
right. The majority of people liked Endgame. I personally didn't, but the majority of people liked Endgame. It made a ton of money. It made like over $2 billion. It made a ton of money. So did Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and Ant-Man Quantumania. Doesn't mean they were good. So it's just like it just means that they made a lot of money. Like it's this whole like I know that they're using the it made money so it's good philosophy. That doesn't necessarily is the case. Like,
Mhm.
but it's yeah.
Well, speaking of the movies, this article does touch on the poor box office compared to their budgets because if you have a small budget, these box office would be like, oh, this is great. But they've been spending a lot of money on these movies with poor results, poor CGI. Um, and they have a fear at Marvel, according to this article, that the Marvels will also underperform. They state that they screened the movie for friends and families, and the response was mid. Uh, do you have any hopes for the Marvels and any other comics on the movie side of things?
Um I'm a wait and see kind of person when it comes to the Marvels because the fact is like I honestly liked Captain America for the Captain Marvel movie, the first
I
Captain
did
Marvel
too.
movie. And the more and more and more and more I've seen it, I've liked it more because I
Yeah.
like Carol Danvers. Now, one of the reasons why I did not like Endgame was they torched the Captain Marvel character from that was in the Captain Marvel movie. I just did not like the way they did it. It was not really well done. Um and And again, as you guys know, my wife is a fan of these things. Well, she used to be. She isn't anymore. Basically, because of like Endgame, Black Widow, and a lot of other things that we've seen since that have just not hit par, have not come some up to par. I
Mhm.
showed her. She was watching She-Hulk with me, turned the damn thing off, and walked away because she was just like, "I can't with this nonsense." Little did she
Right.
know, it got fucking worse. The movie got the show got worse.
Yeah.
Like, but again, it's like, it's like, I feel like, yeah, they're doing this whole, you need to like, there's too much. I agree with the article where they said that there's way too much that went out. But what you need
Mhm.
to start doing over the fact is they went quantity over quality. They need to do quality over quantity. They need to scale it back a little bit, get the like drop it back a little bit, and like make really good stuff. You don't need to spend $100 million, like, like $200 million plus on some of these movies. You just really don't. Just because it's like, you don't. You could have made uh like Hawkeye really cheap because you didn't need like the huge gigantic special effects, yet they did it anyway.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion that you guys talked about in y'all's reviews, I completely agree with you. Like, Secret Invasion had this really great thing. You could have made it for super 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 cheap, and then they spent, I don't know where that money went on
A
this, like,
gazillion dollars on the last episode.
right, and it was terrible,
It
and
was so bad.
it was so terrible. Like,
And Mike and I loved that show episode 1 through 5.
I was loving the like, and the thing when that show came out, like, was the show was going to come out. My wife and I were super into it because both of us really love Captain America, the Captain America character, and we really loved Winter Soldier. I wanted another one of those things. And when it just went straight off the rails and into like Crazy Town and Super VX, like Super Trooper, like whatever the
Yeah,
nonsense that it went into, you're just like, or
full
how
on
did you,
OP characters.
or how have you guys always put it? Two characters sitting in a room, like,
Yeah,
like,
two amazing actors sitting in a room talking to each other.
right. And it's just like, it's just one of that's the kind of stuff that they need to get back to.
Mhm.
They have these phenomenal. Tatiana Maslany is a freaking phenomenal actress. Like, go
She-Hulk is a
look at
great character.
character. And you like, you wasted it. Like, Carol Dan, like I'm sorry, I'm watching Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV, and like, Brie Larson is a fabulous actress. Like, if it's not a if Marvel's does do terrible, it's not the acting. You can tell right away she's an
I mean, she
Academy
won an Oscar.
she won an Oscar. And I'm not saying that like every Oscar winner is like, is, doesn't have like this, like, they have these one moments and everybody else sometimes they can like go downhill, but like, she's an Oscar winner. You can see her in multiple things where she's absolutely fabulous. So it's not the acting. Like, and it's
Yeah.
not and
And
it's not the directors, because you've got like these state of the art, like, these
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
fabulous directors as well. Where is it?
And we'll get into it later in our topics, but one of the things they talked about is Blade is reducing the budget to $100 million, which, you know what? I would love that. I would love for some of the Marvel movies to be done on a small budget, make it more character focused. That would be great.
Look at
Um,
the first Blade movie.
right. One thing that this article alludes to, and I kind of actually agree with them in this article on this particular point. I'd love to get your thoughts, but was on Victoria Alonso and her kind of being the scapegoat for the issues with the VFX artists, the CGI, and the shows and movies. And I kind of think Marvel did her dirty because I think the problem with the VFX artists and the CGI is on the whole board and on Kevin Feige and also on her and a bunch of other people. And they kind of were just like, let's save face. Let's kind of blame it all on one person, be like, see, we're doing better now because we fired her. Even though, like, literally at the same time, her movie was being nominated for an Oscar that she produced. So it was kind of like, oh, is it all her fault, really? But thoughts on the Victoria Alonso stuff?
So I agree with you. I think there's part of it that she is um a scapegoat.
Yeah.
However, I was always taught this when I was in the military that like if you are a leader and your house is burning and you're not paying attention, so you're allowing stuff below you to like, it's a pyramid, and it like everybody's heard the saying that, everything flows downhill. Like she was the one that was in charge, the stuff underneath her wasn't going right. Like, and unfortunately we live in
Mhm.
this is a business where like, they're going to cut the head off the snake. They're going to cut the head off to kind of, because they can't like completely fire the entire VX team because then,
Yeah.
that they're not, and also they couldn't because they
Although I would
unionized.
say the head of the snake is Kevin Feige, not Victoria
Yeah,
Alonso.
but I will tell you this right now: Marvel would be insane to
Oh, so
to get
insane.
to get rid of Feige. So like that's not going to happen. So it's just like you're gonna do you're gonna get rid of a person that you can afford to lose, and unfortunately like
Yeah.
she was
That's
a
high
person that
enough
could afford to
up
lose.
that you can blame
Yeah,
everything on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, it's like, and they got a point. Like honestly, like if you, but again, we're gonna go back to the direction. And also, you can't get rid of the guy who was in charge of Disney at the time that said, "Hey, let's move everything to streaming shows and do all these like 15 shows in 2 weeks type deals." Like you can't like that is an insane schedule, and you can't do that. And so like
Yeah.
the having a person like so he's gone, so now you just have to right the ship. So it's like they're gonna right the ship and try to do it because honestly working 14-hour days and doing all no wonder the VFX sometimes because of being
Yeah.
terrible
No
because the
wonder they want to
yeah,
unionize.
and of course no, could you blame them
Yeah.
if you're working that many hours and that many days on a regular basis and having no help at all and you feel completely all you're doing is getting more and more work piled on top of you. Trust me,
Right.
I understand it.
Yeah. And
Like,
then fans complaining about the hard work that you're doing because you don't have the time to actually make it look good. So then not only are you being worked to death, you're also being criticized
yeah,
constantly.
yeah,
That sucks
yeah,
for them.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that is fully 100% on the MCU, their directors, and Kevin Feige because he's the head of the ship.
Right.
Um, but we'll go into with that the thing that I think is hurting the Marvel brand the most, and that is the MCU shows on Disney Plus. Now, granted, I don't hate all the shows, and a lot of it has been. I even said with Secret Invasion, like I loved episode 1 through 5, and I hated the last episode. I really enjoyed Moon Knight until the last episode. I really
I
enjoyed Miss Marvel until the last episode. I really enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier until the last episode, and that's kind of. I really enjoyed Loki season 1 until the last episode. So like that's pretty much just been the case of these shows, and so I don't want to be like saying that I'm a hater, but I think them ruining the ending on so many of these shows have really hurt the brand and what the MCU has been known for, which has been quality. And it's like we're not really getting that quality anymore. The article speaks about the oversaturation of the MCU shows during COVID, um, which not only was this oversaturation for fans, where we were like getting so much one right after the other, but also that it was oversaturation for the VFX artists and for Kevin Feige. Because like both the artists didn't have time to work on these shows, and they were also working on the movies as well. And then Kevin Feige didn't have enough time to like course correct and look at everything and see like make sure that it had the quality that it did in phase 1 through 3. So I do want to focus on She-Hulk a little bit, but before we get to that, I want to throw your thoughts on this part of the article.
I 100% agree with you. Like, it is definitely um quantity over it's they definitely have a quality control problem. Now, where the article focuses on certain things, I kind of disagree with it because I think it's more of a writing issue. Is you need to, and I'm not saying, and it's like the fact is some of these shows have had these writing, and hopefully with the WGA strike being over with, like this, and some of these like things being fixed, that you can fix this, is I think that you need one or two more writers to proofread or to be like, does this work? Because just because something works for Deadpool doesn't mean it's going to work for She-Hulk, or like, or don't, just because it works for Deadpool doesn't mean it's going to work for Blade. Like you can't have every single character be a fourth wall breaking character. Now, granted, like from some of the stuff I've read, She-Hulk was, I don't know the She-Hulk character.
She-Hulk originally broke the fourth wall before
Yeah,
Deadpool did.
yeah, but like, which I understand, like I get, but like you don't need to go to the level that the final episode, that the episode of She-Hulk did.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we'll get into the She-Hulk thing. Because I don't want to just make rag She-Hulk. I don't want to just trash She-Hulk. I just really don't want to be trashing She-Hulk. Because I also want to talk about the fact is of what this article doesn't talk about. It doesn't talk about the fact is they completely scrapped Daredevil Born Again. So like I mean, not scrapped it, but they're basically wiping out a lot of it and then going back to square one.
Yeah.
So it's there are some things that they're not discussing, which I wish the article would have discussed more. So, and again, like or how WandaVision was such a great show, but then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness scrapped everything that happened in WandaVision, and we get the nonsense that happened in WandaVision. So everybody's looking at each other going like, "What? What happened here?"
Yeah. It went more with what she was doing in the post credit scene than what her finale was in the show.
Hmm.
If they did a better thing of having just more than that post credit scene and showing her descent into madness and
Right,
show us that
right,
instead of tell us that,
right.
it would have made that movie better. Whether that was in that movie or it happened in another show or in another movie, but they didn't show us that. And so that was one of the parts of that movie where, like, that movie, I'm okay with that one.
Mhm.
I did not like Quantumania at
Oh,
all.
Quantumania was terrible.
It was
Quantum,
so bad.
I'm sorry, Quantumania was terrible. I honestly hated Quantumania, and I will
Me
tell.
too.
The thing is, it has absolutely nothing to do with Kang, because Kang was like whatever.
The
I
best
like
part of the movie.
was, but the problem is, it's like you brought back, you took oh, what is his name, Modoc, and you turned him into like Aaron, the guy from like
Yeah.
from the first Ant-Man.
Yeah.
No, like, and then he's like, I'm not going to be bad because she told me I was because like the daughter told me I was don't be an asshole. Like, what writing is that?
I
Like,
was
it's just,
like, this is not my Modoc. Also, he looked
he looked
ridiculous.
ridiculous, and it was just terrible. And like, and honestly, the fact is, in some of the best part, and I'm sorry, how can you have a heist movie without having the gang? The gang made the first movie.
Mhm.
Like, for the
First and second.
the first two movies were made phenomenal by the gang. So how is the gang completely gone away? Like I would have, like I told you before,
How are you not gonna have Luis explain everything that happened in the movie in his stereotypical Mexican accent? Where I was just like, I love him as a character, but then I was just like, I really hope that we get more Latinos. So that's not the only Latino we have in the MCU as such a stereotype.
Right, and I'm gonna throw it back another one. Where's Simu Liu? Where's the like? Where is Shang-Chi? Like, I'm sorry, you built up Shang-Chi as this really great character, and and honestly, the fact is, like, one of my favorite movies from this from from this section of movies. And the fact is like, where is he? Like, you
Mm.
have not brought him back. Now I understand that Simu Liu is a busy actor because he's a top-notch actor, so he's going to be put in places. But you can do
And he
cameo.
is Kenough, even though that was another Ken, but he is Kenough.
Yes, he's enough. So, but you have, but where is he in other things? Like, you're not tying this stuff together, other than going
Yeah,
like, you keep telling us instead of showing us that it's tied together.
yeah, yeah. Um, so getting into She-Hulk, because they did speak about, and that is my least favorite Disney Plus show. And part of it was that it was so bad. But then also I had high hopes for it because She-Hulk is an amazing character who does break the fourth wall and is fun and a great lawyer. And like I was like, this could have been good. It could have been so good. And you were bringing back Charlie Cox Daredevil, who I love so much. I love all 3 seasons of that Netflix show. Um, so we heard this when She Hulk came out, but the fact that it was reiterated that they moved around the episodes and made it harder for the VFX artist. And we have someone from Marvel saying that the CGI issues on the show was Kevin Feige's fault, not Victoria Alonso's. It seems like Kevin didn't have time to pay attention to She Hulk, and it shows. Um, Also, the fact that She Hulk episodes cost way more than Game of Thrones, which I did not like the last season of Game of Thrones.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, the last season of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
But that season was way better than She Hulk, and it also had dragons. So I don't understand how She Hulk cost $25 million an episode. Um, that's just crazy to me. Where did that money go? And it just kind of like made me re-angry, if that's the word that, if that is a word about the show, because like I said, She-Hulk's such a good comic book character. And except for maybe like one episode, and I don't even know if it's like the episode was good or just that the episode was decent compared to every other episode, but that show is utter trash. So I know you said you didn't want to shit on She Hulk, but I do give you the floor if you would like to shit on She Hulk
Okay.
and what was said in this article.
All right. I am married to a very strong woman who believes in like all things, who is very pro women, and honestly, she and I both were insanely excited for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Premiere date comes around. We're watching the episode. My wife can't get 10 minutes without turning the damn thing off. And I can't say that I blamed her, because I finished the episode, but I was like, what did I just watch?
Mm-hmm.
It surely wasn't a Marvel show, because it felt to me like a Marvel Fox show, or like one of the X-Men's, or a Josh Trank
Or
Fantastic
CW.
Four movie. Or no, because the CW was doing it's almost like the fact is like, I'm gonna do like a DC thing for a second, being the fanboy
Mm-hmm.
DC guy that I am. It's the DC Flash, the CW Flash TV show compared to the Flash Ezra, you know, Ezra Miller,
Mm-hmm.
like Flash movie. Like, you're like, what? Like, if you could do it better on the CW show, why is this movie over here terrible? Like, and I'm gonna say it, like, again with this, you can't blame Tatiana Maslany, because she is
Yeah.
fabulous. Go watch Orphan Black. Enough said. Like, she's fabulous. Anything she's in, everything I've ever seen her in, she's been fabulous. Like, and the show just was a train wreck. It was an absolute train wreck, from the Jamela, the the I can't even remember the actress, um, and I don't even want to.
Mm.
But the
I can't either.
Glamazon, like,
Yeah.
one that was like her person.
Jamila Jamil.
Yeah, she is a great actress, because I've seen her in other things, like the, but yet she's wasted. And then
Yeah.
you do this, like, you bring back Blonsky, and then the Blonsky episode's like, what? It's like out of place, going like, why am I what?
And then
Uh,
that last episode.
and then the train wreck last episode where she goes to Marvel, and like I'm just and Marvel's like this stupid like I don't even just no, I just can't. It's just and then it's just terrible. And like and you waste Charlie Cox. That's your introduction to
Yeah.
Charlie Cox as Daredevil? Like because and honestly, I don't want to talk about Far
And
From Home because Far From Home was in my opinion was I you wasted Charlie Cox in that movie. And that like that was
imagine,
yeah.
though, if they didn't show us that he was in the show in the trailer too, the excitement that we could have had when we saw his helmet in, like, what was it, the fourth episode or something
Mhm.
like that? Like,
Could you imagine the internet?
yeah,
It's like the fact is Thor 11. It's like the Thor Ragnarok when we saw like the Hulk and like the whole Hulk smash coming through the wall, and he goes like, "Oh, he's a guy from work." Could you imagine if you didn't see that in the trailer? How excited
right,
people would have been? Like, "Oh my God, Hulk and what?"
right.
Like,
And a lot of times, people who make the trailers aren't the same people who make the movies. We saw that with Get Out, that he had to fight to not have the key scene where she shows, but I actually have the keys, because you have to think that she's innocent and in love with her boyfriend. Um, but yeah,
but but
that
again,
show.
but it's but the thing is, it's like where the article is talking about a Marvel a source said like Feige was too like busy, so he couldn't like quality control it. Do you really need Feige to quality control this? And are we talking
I
like in all the things that we've done so far, we can't have someone else go like, does this hit our standard? Does this make our standard? Is this a standard that we've set
I can
previously?
understand. I think probably I think that probably between phase 1 through 3, Kevin Feige was so involved, and that if he continued to be so involved in the following phases as he was through phase 1 and 3, that we probably would get better quality stuff. But because there was so much coming out, he, like the VFX artist, was spread too thin.
Right.
And whether this is a failing on his part of not training his underlings to do the same quality control that he was doing in the earlier phases, I don't know if that's a him thing, if that's the people below him thing, if there was a board who was making decisions that overrode what his decisions were. I don't know what happened, but it was a disaster, and I hope it gets fixed. Um,
So
but
you just made a really great comment, and I just want to reiterate where I think that this falls. And again, it's the problem with the DC stuff. I'm going to take it back to DC. I know we're talking about Marvel, but it's a Paramount thing where I feel like what happened here, and it's also with Deadpool 2. My feelings on Deadpool 2, like Deadpool 1 worked because the studio didn't know what it had and was like, this is probably going to fail. We're going to give them just a little bit of money. Go make your movie. Go, Ryan Reynolds, go make your fan film and have fun. It hits, and they're like, wait a second, let's tinker. You know, we're going to give you a
mhm,
bigger budget. We're going to tinker around with it and try to make it better. And of course, Deadpool 2 is not nearly as good as Deadpool 1. Okay.
still good.
Come at me, internet. But like the same thing here. Like, I honestly think the fact is that like they didn't know what they had in Marvel. Disney did not know what it had in Marvel. So it basically was letting Kevin Feige and Marvel go do its thing. Endgame makes $2.8 billion at the box office, and they're basically going hit all the way through to
I
Endgame.
need more.
Right. And then Disney's like, wait a second. Wait, now we can make it better. What? And we just spent all this money to get you like, get you the X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that those characters.
Although I think
But
too,
now this.
because Kevin Feige spoke to it in the first 3 phases as well, like this Black Widow not getting a movie because there was, I forget the name of the Disney executive, but the Disney executive who was basically sexist and
Mhm.
like didn't want to have focus in on the women characters. So there were still Disney execs that Kevin Feige was having to deal with in phase 1 through 3. But I don't I don't know what's happened. But going on to our next part of the article, one thing that I was like, huh, this is interesting that the article is mentioning. Because, like you said, there was some stuff that the article didn't mention at all, including like Secret Invasion, like what happened there. But it did mention content creators, and it talked about how there are less content creators for Marvel than there was before for phase 1 through 3, and that surprised me. And probably it's just from like the people that I follow on YouTube and podcasts I follow. I'm like, they're still talking about Marvel. So is this actually true? I haven't looked into it. Have you noticed any decline in people talking about the MCU online?
No. If like it's like no, are you kidding me? Like yes, you don't have like the water cooler talk. The water you're not having the water cooler talk because there's no water cooler talking to have, because the fact is no one wants to go see these, because you get a person that walks in and going like, "What'd you think of the new Marvel movie?" And they're like, "Yeah, you probably should steer clear of this." That and like, but you're not getting the like this if you're talking about like people like my wife that are like, trying to shy away. But content creators, I would honestly feel like there's more of them out there, because the fact is everybody wants to talk about like comic book things and nerd culture right now is a thing, and people are
Hmm.
talking about it all day long. But if you make
It's
some
cool now when it wasn't cool
right,
when I was in high school.
right, but I'm gonna use gaming as an example. If you make something good, people will talk about it. Look at the new Marvel Spider-Man 2 game. That game is
And if you make something bad, people will talk about it just for the negative reactions as well.
correct. So the fact is, but like people will talk about it. If you build it, they will come. Like it's cliche as hell, but it's so true. Like this whole thing about like where the art, but again, I think it's like this is the part where I think like the article's like, yeah, there's not a like. I was like, what rock are you looking under? Like you can
Yeah,
find the content if you're looking for it.
yeah. And then even here on Off the Wall, like Boggs has completely given up pretty much on all the MCU shows on Disney Plus, and he's even said that he's not going to see the Marvels, even though he was a fan of Miss Marvel, the show. The only show that I think he enjoyed watching episode to episode, although I think he also didn't like that last episode.
But
But
but so I think honestly the
we're
fact
still
is
covering it
right,
here.
right.
Yeah,
But if and I think honestly, if they made like if Marvel's hits and it's really really good, I think Boggs will go see it. If he
yeah.
may not go see it opening weekend, but if
He
there's like
loved
tons
No
of
Way Home.
right, like if there are tons of positive reviews on these, if like say all this stuff like works,
Hmm.
then it's this like it'll turn right around and like people will come back to it.
Yeah,
Like the article mentions that also the fact is that like the saving grace is going to be like X-Men and Fantastic Four. Not necessarily,
make
because like
something good and we'll come.
right, if you honestly if like if they for example like if Marvel's hits it that and that's great. What Captain America, the new Captain America movie that they're filming with like Thunderbolt Ross and all that sort of stuff. If that stuff's a hit, if you consistently are making hits, people will come back to it. People want this stuff badly, but the fact is we
Yeah.
don't want like. But the problem is they're a they've made we are expecting a level. We have expected this level right up here.
Hmm.
And what we've been getting is like I'm trying to put my hands to the point where you can actually see it.
Yeah.
So like we're expecting
Yeah.
way up here, but we're getting here. And like there's a gap. And if you don't if like people are consistently seeing this, they're just not going to pay the money anymore. So it's like
Right. And that would be if the article, which it did talk about box office just a little bit, if it was saying people are no longer paying attention, that would make more sense for me because I feel like that is the case. But content creators, I think, are still making this stuff because people are needing to go. if these content creators are talking like really highly about this show or really highly about this movie, okay, I'll go see it. If they're not, then if it's not good, so there's still like views and a place for it online, kind of like you do the dirty work so I don't have to.
Right.
And so that I was just like, huh, is this the case? Have I just not been noticing because of the people I follow? I kind of want to look into this more to see, like, has there been a decline or is this part of the article just full of shit? But going into uh two really quick questions that I or like two really quick things that I'm gonna throw to you.
Okay.
The first one, what the fuck are you doing with Blade? And how are you fucking things up with Mahershala Ali? Like, it said that he was ready to leave over script issues, which we kind of already knew before it was reported earlier. But like still, like, how are you fucking up Mahershala Ali as Blade? Please don't.
Please God don't. Mahershala Ali is like perfectly cast to be Blade.
Right.
Please God make this movie. Please God make this movie. Like it's like this is like again, but again, I'm gonna throw it back to DC. You had a perfect Superman in my opinion in Cavill, and you
No.
let him go away. So like I'm really hoping Marvel doesn't pull the DC and wait and like I'm
Fuck
really,
it up.
but again, I agree with you from earlier. Make it be a low budget horror movie. Can we
Mm-hmm.
get a low budget horror movie? I mean, for God's sakes, they've made a movie about Winnie the Pooh and Piglet as serial killers for like $20 million, and that movie banked. It was terrible, but that movie banked money. I'm sorry, you can make Blade for 100 million or less and kill it. You don't need like these crazy ass
Yeah.
special effects because of the fact is it's like look at the original Blade movie. The original Blade movie is mwah. And the
Mm-hmm.
fact is, it's like it wasn't made for a ton of money.
Honestly, like, I don't care what anyone says. I love that trilogy, all three movies.
Come
Now,
at
is
her,
the
internet.
first
Come at
if
her,
the
internet.
if the
She
yes, the first one is the best, but also reminder, I was a child when I watched it. Probably shouldn't have watched it as a child, but I was a child. I was born in 1994, people. And then the last one is, do you think they'll make another Avengers movie with the original cast?
yes. But I don't think it's the way the article made it seem. Because I think and then this is just because I love I've read these comics and I've had this conversation with my friend Brian. Is yes, I think this was this was the plan all along. As at some point you're going to bring back Captain America and Iron Man and Black Widow and some
I
of
mean,
these
multiverse,
characters.
baby.
And you've got the multiverse, you've got all sorts of stuff. Like look at the way that the last episode of Loki ended. Like you have like you can reset everything. You can use that to reset everything. Forget you Flash movie. This is how you reset a timeline. But like this is how you reset stuff. Is like you can reset this stuff and come and you have it back. Now, honestly, they don't even have to bring back the actors who played them. They were mentioning the actors by name. You can just bring back the characters themselves. It doesn't need to be like, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. You can have another Black Widow. You can have another Tony
Mm-hmm.
Stark's Iron Man. You can have another Tony Stark. You
Mm-hmm.
can have this. This is the beauty of having a multiverse full of like all these different universes and such like that.
Now, I want to end this on a positive note. Although there's stuff getting scrapped, so we really don't know what's actually going to come out. And stuff switching from shows to movies and movies to show, kind of like Armor Wars, I think originally was supposed to be a show, I think is now going to be a movie. Anything that you're
Oh.
excited for the MCU going forward, any of their movies or shows?
I want to watch the Marvels, but I'm excited for the Marvels because I want to see um Captain Marvel 2. I really want to see Captain Marvel 2. I don't want them, but again, I'm apprehensive at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm excited for the fact is Fantastic Four and like X-Men. I need them to stop talking about Deadpool 3. I'm so tired of like the news needs to stop. You said positive, but I need them to stop talking about Deadpool 3 because this is the thing is like everybody's looking at Deadpool 3 as the saving grace. Uh-uh. I don't think like I think it's gonna be good, but
I think that if a bunch of it was already shot without them being able to riff with each other because of the writer's strike, that it's not going to be very good. So I hope that only a very small portion of it was filmed, or they just refilm stuff to let them riff, because they basically were like, hey, you two great actors who are great at riffing and improv, not allowed to do that because there's a writer strike going on.
and then again, and also Taylor Swift in an MCU movie. Come on, like there's the other thing I'm like super excited. But I honestly like the fact is, it's like I'm a comic book fan, and I'm
Mhm.
just excited. I'm excited. The fact is that we live in a world that actually these movies are being made.
Yeah.
So there's my positive on this because the fact is that like they're not gonna stop making them. They've already done Pandora's box. We're already getting these movies and such like that. So like honestly, I just want them to continue making content. Like,
Mhm.
but I want it to be good content. I don't want this to be like I don't need
Yeah.
any more Black Widows and She-Hulks. I need more Shang-Chi's and, Captain America: First Avenger. Like I need
Yeah.
some good movies. I need some good movies, some good entertaining.
Yeah.
I want to go buy it. I want to own this. I want to watch this 100 times.
I would say for me, I'm also excited for the Marvels. And mainly, I'll do this. So my dad, he's watched all of Phase 1 through 3, but basically because him and my mom and I binged all three of the movies. But my mom, like, she had a tendency to fall asleep on the couch, so I don't know how much she actually watched, but my dad did watch all, which was like, oh, I want to see what this is about. And the only movie we saw in theaters before we did this binge of the Infinity War saga is we went to go see Captain Marvel in theaters because he was just like, do I need to know anything else? And I said, no, this movie is like a prequel. It's set in 1995. And he goes, perfect. And my dad really enjoyed it. He didn't understand the post credit scene at the time, but he really enjoyed that movie. And then we're watching TV and we're seeing the trailer for the Marvels. And my dad like goes, hey, hey, and like hits my shoulder, like, we're gonna go see that, right? So like my dad really enjoyed the first one. I really liked the first one. And I like Brie Larson as Miss Marvel. I like uh Kamala Khan, her characterization in the show. And then I really like what's
Monica
her
Rambeau.
name? Monica Rambeau. Like all three of them have been so good in their respective stories that I just want this to be good.
I do too. I'm right there
Please
with you.
let the rewrites make it go from mid to fantastic. It looks like there's even going to be like a Bollywood scene in it, which I'm totally here for. So like that's my hope and my positive note to end this is like, come on, the Marvels, be good, please, please, please.
Exactly. And honestly, the fact is, and I'm gonna plug my wife again. Like I think that they need to start making like my wife has this really great cut of Captain America: First Avenger that we watch constantly. It's like our what she calls her it's a rom-com version of the movie. It's fabulous. It's like it's so good, and it's like if we're all rom-com lovers, it basically takes Red Skull out of it, which I'm okay, which is fine. Like it's one of those things because it's all about Peggy Carter and and Steve Rogers, and it's so great.
Mhm.
um, but again, you also have like again, Miss Marvel. Also the Miss Marvel was such a fantastic TV show. Like it was such a fantastic TV show, and like I want the Marvels to do well because I, yes, please representation, and
Yeah.
like more strong women characters, and I need them to be strong women characters and women of color and all this sort of stuff. You need this, and I just yeah, we need this. We need this.
Yeah. So that's Jason and my thought on this article and the MCU as a whole. We wouldn't be talking about this if we didn't care about it. Like, we are total nerds. I know I am way younger than you, but when I was in high school, it was not cool to be nerdy. And then, kind of, when I got to college, it became the cool thing. And I was like, oh, so now I'm cool. Like, because I have all of this knowledge. When just like a year or two ago, like, I was the nerd. Okay, cool. Sure, fine. But besides all of that, we're just want things to be good, and we have hope. And so I don't know how to end this really. Just be
Hope,
good.
hope,
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 hope.
love,
We're gonna
joy.
joy. Yeah, there we go. Hope, love, and joy. Hope, love, and
Hope,
joy.
love, and
Hope,
joy.
love, and joy. Spread it around the world, people. It'll make everything better. Hope, love, and joy.
Uh, Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. Uh, Jason and I have been doing live reactions of Loki. We missed the second episode because I was on vacation. We missed the fourth episode because he was working that night. We're going to be going live. If this comes out on Thursday, we're going to be going live tomorrow on Friday because I'm seeing Taylor Tomlinson tonight. If this does come out on Thursday, so so we're pretty much a bit like, why'd we decide to go live on this show to record this show, which we've really enjoyed when like both of us have been really busy and not able to make some of the lives. But anywho, go check that out. Go check out all the stuff that we do here on Off the Wall, and we'll see you next time.